I guess this is an appropriate place for me to do what I want to do here. I've got a microphone. I'm on a podcast. So I want to say something about what the passing of the torch from Jimmy Greaves to Harry Kane as the record goal scorer for the club has meant. And I'm one of, lots of people, I'm not 100 years of age, who saw both players play. And on Twitter last night, people of a certain vintage, we were having this discussion about obviously how blessed we've been to see both players, but to have, I'm not going to say argument, to have the two best English strikers of post-war vintage and who probably of all time playing for long periods at the same club. It's been an extraordinary thing. And I want to add to it a completely personal, and it is totally personal, mad fairy tale as well in this. And it's something about the memory of football fans and how it goes through us personally. The history of these clubs goes through it. We are all conduits for the history of the club and our own background. About 100 years ago, Jimmy Greaves' grandparents made the journey from Ireland to East London. And in 1986, Greaves talked about this, and I've spoken about it to him subsequently. He said he feels absolutely no connection with Ireland. How could he ever have played for Ireland, although he was qualified under the grandmother rule because he was born in the East End of London? But there he was. These people came on the boat over to London, and their grandson turned out to be a genius and played for Tottenham Hotspur. 50 years later, another boat brought my parents over from Ireland, and I stood as a 12, 13, 14-year-old watching the last three seasons of Jimmy Greaves at Spurs from down at the front, when they still passed the younger people down to the front of the terraces at White Hart Lane. And I watched Jimmy Greaves and I became obsessed with him and I loved him. And after he left Spurs with his 266 goals, and I did all right at school and I knew certain things. I knew you had to pay your taxes. I knew that Everest was always going to be the highest mountain in the world. And I knew that Jimmy Greaves' record of 266 goals would never be surpassed. And over the years, I watched some brilliant forwards at Spurs. Martin Chivers, Gary Lineker, Clive Allen, Jurgen Klinsmann, Jermaine Defoe, Dimitar Berbatov, Teddy Sheringham, Robbie Keane. And I knew that none of them, for different reasons, some of them were only there for a couple of seasons, they were never going to get near 266 goals for Spurs. It was an immovable sun in my world. But what I didn't know, possibly a plane had come from the town of Tuam in Galway in Ireland 50 years after my parents came, and that their son, Harry Kane, again in East London, was going to turn out to be the next genius that would come along. And for Harry Kane to break the record has been, I've watched him head towards it over the last 5 years with a mixture of awe and disbelief, because I'm delighted that one of the things that I took to be the actual proof of a living and active God, Jimmy Greaves' record, has been broken. And now I think that his record will never, ever be broken unless somewhere in a bar in Kilkenny or Dublin or Ennisfree, two people are looking at each other with a glint in their eye across that bar, and maybe the next one will come as well. It's been an extraordinary journey, and I love him. I love him to death. Well done, Harry. And Danny Greaves' appearance on that screen, I wasn't in the stadium, brought tears to my eyes. It's bringing tears to my eyes now.